The Tragedy of Cinema podcast is intended as a family-friendly program that by extension strives to be inclusive to all people regardless of their ethnicity, gender, creed, or any other identifying factors in this incredibly diverse world of ours. With that said, some of the films we discuss may contain serious subject matters or have content considered morally objectionable by today's standards. We do not intend to condone or dismiss these aspects of these films, but our primary focus will be on what we believe the film succeeds at, some fun facts, and our personal enjoyment factors of each film. With that said, we hope you enjoy the show.
I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
Now look, Doc, we're buddies, okay? But don't try to convert me.
I'm trying to prepare you. My name's Marquay, Dr. Marquay, a scientist interested in the supernatural. The unnatural, if you like. I came to Hill House to find the key to another world. Assisting me in this exploration of the unknown was Eleanor, Nell, who could look back into the past, and Theo, something of a witch who could see into the future. This is Luke, who didn't believe in anything. Until evil, patient and waiting, made him change his mind.
Stop it! God. Whose hand was I holding?
How many of us take seriously the things we cannot or do not want to understand, simply because we are afraid?
Eleanor, you're Paul! Did you hear me calling?
Oh, this house. You have to watch it every minute.
The Haunting was produced and directed by Robert Wise, brilliant producer of West Side Story. The stars consist of a cross-section of top talent in the world of entertainment. Julie Harris, Claire Bloom, Richard Johnson, Russ Tamblyn.
What does it take to convince you that the dead do not always rest in peace? That some houses, like Hill House, are born bad?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast for this very special episode. We are actually not recording on a normal day. This is actually a late night recording. Kyle barely looks awake. So
As always,
I'm your host, Jimbo, and joined once again by my co-host,
Kyle Zahner in the house.
Kyle in the house. Not really. We're over Zoom because we have a very special guest with us tonight, all the way out from the West Coast. Well, West Coast, but she's in Central Coast, close to Santa Barbara, California. We have Cristine Collier with us. Cristine, great to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you guys. Hi there.
So a little interesting background of how this came about. About, what was it, a month and a half ago, maybe. Our good friends over at the Evil Never Dies podcast had it one of their Zoom calls after they got done recording, and I just happened to pop in. I had the night off or the day off after work, so I popped in, and Cristine was in there, and Natasha was in there from Australia, and Brett and Carl, and B.A. Danny or Annie. So we just sat there and we just talked an hour and a half, 2 hours, just had some good times. And so I posed the question to the group that we were talking to was, what is your favorite horror movie? And Cristine suggested, she said this movie, which we'll be covering, The Haunting from 1963. So, Cristine, can you tell us why it is your favorite movie and of all time? Out of all the horror movies, this is the one that you said that you like the most.
Well, this film, I first saw it back in the 80s, and it was recommended to me by a friend of mine. And I love a good scary movie. And when I say scary movie, I love a good psychological thriller. I don't necessarily like the slasher films, blood and gut films. For me, what makes a really good scary movie is something that I have to really think about, a good psychological thriller. And for me, the original Haunting from 1963, based on a novel called The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which was published in 1959, just really hits it on the head. It's a film, it's black and white, and it's just such a good psychological thriller. It just, like I said, first saw it back in the 80s, and it's just stuck with me ever since. And it's just like a slow, suspenseful, just really gets to you. Under your skin, yeah. And it's just a slow mental breakdown of this one character. And it's just creepy, and it's just a true haunted house film. And to this day, it's just one of my favorites.
Yeah, when I was watching this movie, I kind of got the feeling of the House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. It kind of had some of that same creep factor to it. Yeah, it's black and white. I think it is shot beautifully because they use like a special camera that like curve the walls and everything, so you feel like you're suffocating in this house. You know what I mean? Like you feel this. Eleanor, I believe is her name. You know, you feel her and yes. You think she's going crazy. I mean, from the time you meet her, you think she's going crazy, but we'll get to it. So, as usual, on every episode we usually do, unless I feel generous to Kyle every once in a while, I throw a question out there at the beginning of the episode. This week I have two. This is the first one at the beginning, and I'll have one at the end of the show. So, Kyle and Cristine, my question to you is, number one, what is the scariest movie you have ever saw? And what is the most scared you have been while watching a movie?
Oh.
It doesn't have to be horror related for the scared, but I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely too young around the Saw franchise when that came out. And I was way too early to watch those films. And that kind of left some memories that kind of scarred me for life, but in like a disgusting horror kind of way that probably doomed me for that whole genre forever. But yes, I would say probably one of the Saw movies, definitely kind of like maybe the most just completely tensed out and just like, no, I'm not okay anymore. This is all bad. Nothing's good at all in the world. So that'd probably be for me, probably the most uncomfortable in a movie theater.
Okay, and then do you think that's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Scariest movie I've ever seen? I might have to come back to you on that one because I'm not actually sure.
Okay. What about
I also kind of I like to follow more on the suspenseful movies that kind of create that layer of unease, but don't necessarily create like a level of like complete horror to me. I'm trying to think movies that really get like, I don't know, like movies like the Mothman Prophecy are like the most horrifying movies to me or something like that. But like that's not really a horror movie. That's more of a suspense psychological thriller thing of just like, oh, everyone's actually crazy and the secrets of the universe will play against you in a way that always gets under my skin in a cool like sci-fi fun sense. But still, I wouldn't say it's the scariest movie I've ever seen. So I guess I give bad answers to this one. Sorry. Cristine, how do you feel? What's the most scared you've ever been in a movie theater or something like that, or in a movie?
For me, I would one besides The Haunting, the Strangers. That was a pretty scary movie for me with Liv Ullmann. Am I saying her last name right? She's
Oh,
the rock singer's daughter.
yeah. Arwen from Lord of the Rings, Kyle. Liv Tyler.
Lee Tyler, thank you. Yeah. The Strangers. That was the masks that the bad guys wore, and they just kind of like showed up at the house.
Yep.
That was pretty. And The Exorcist was also. I was really young when that came out, and that I think that to this day kind of still holds up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think most of the scariest movies are the ones that aren't slasher movies, but are the ones that could be true. Like the Strangers, that could totally be true. You know what I mean? With people coming out the Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turn.
Ransom, like with Mel Gibson with Ransom, where they kidnap his son. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that really gets under my skin because it could really happen. You know what I mean? And that, to me, that's scary.
The horror is the random psychopath.
Probably the scaredest I have ever been in my life is I was just a young kid, probably 3, maybe I remember 3. There used to be a local television show host, kind of like Elvira, but his name was Sammy Terry. And Kyle, I don't know if you're old enough to remember Sammy Terry here in Indiana, but he used to either come on late night theater Friday or Saturday nights. And there was a movie on that when I came around the corner, I saw a guillotine coming down and chopping off a lady's head. Okay.
Oh my God.
I was like, and to come to find out, the name of the movie is Two on a Guillotine, starring Cesar Romero, who played the Joker in the Batman 1966. It's a very interesting movie if you get a chance to watch it, because he's like a magician. I don't want to ruin it, but when I saw that, it scared me. And probably the close second to that is probably the original Fog, when the pirates show up in the church and it just lights up. And man, that scared me as a kid so much. I still have memories of that just give me goosebumps. And but that I like that the Fog is probably my favorite horror movie, just from the reaction I had when I was a child. But if you get a chance to see Two on a Guillotine, I highly recommend it. Yes, Kyle. What?
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking on my Vudu real quick to see which horror movies really got to me recently.
You mean you've actually watched some of them on your Vudu?
Yes, I've watched some of those. I think overall, my whole collection, I've watched maybe less than 10% of the movies I own.
Right.
But still, the most recent one that had me like genuinely uneased the most was Green Room in 2016.
What was it called?
What?
What was it called?
Room, the color Green Room.
The Green Room.
Yeah, and it's about a punk band that ends up performing a concert at a basically a neo-Nazi bar, and things go very terribly wrong, and the neo-Nazis actually trap this punk band in the building and proceeds to try and like slowly kind of massacre them to cover up a crime that was committed, and everything goes horribly wrong in that series, and it's very, very gruesome. It was one of Anton Yelchin's last films too, before he sadly passed away, and also has Patrick Stewart in it too. And it's an incredible film, but deeply unsettling because the levels of violence that goes into it, and cold-heartedness, and the ways they try and do to get away with their crime.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
just a shout out to that movie. It was really good.
I think we've rambled on long enough about that question. So, Kyle, let's go ahead and this is going to be kind of different than what we normally do because we do have a guest on here, and she has actually read the book. So I'm very interested to see the differences between the book and the movie. Maybe we'll pop in here towards the end and see if she can help explain to us the differences. I do believe there's more characters in the book. Am I correct? That I read
Yes.
somewhere. Okay, and some of the liberties that they took with the movie are more expounded on in the book, I'm sure. Like the doctor, or the
doctor's different in the book. Yeah.
Right. So, Kyle, let's go ahead and jump in at the beginning of this, do our normal stuff, and then we'll get to some notes, and then we'll have Cristine hour where she can take over the show.
Sounds excellent. Here we go. All right. We have The Haunting, released in 1963, made for a budget of approximately, and this is where I get a little bit of collection because IMDb says made for the budget of $1.4 million. But for the budget on Wikipedia states it has $1.05 million. So that's about $350,000 discrepancy there, but I don't know for sure which one has the best source on that. So between 1.5 and 1.1 million, we'll say around there. Box office, very large disparity here on the box office side, but I think it's because of international release dates. But on IMDb, it says it has a gross worldwide box office of $742, which would be one of the worst bombs of history, probably the worst bomb of history, actually, if you did that kind of math. But box office on Wikipedia says 1.02 million. And it has a source, so I believe that's the more accurate one for certain. Yeah. The Haunting was directed by director Robert Wise, and writers were Nelson Gidling of the screenplay and Shirley Jackson, who wrote the original novel, The Haunting of Hill House. Composer was Humphrey Seal, and cinematographer was Davis Bolton. Quick plot summary of the film right here. We have Dr. Markway doing research to prove the existence of ghosts, investigates Hill House, a large, eerie mansion with lurid history of violent death and insanity. With him and a skeptical young Luke, who stands to inherit the house, the mysterious and clairvoyant Theodore, and an insecure Eleanor, whose psychic abilities make her feel somehow attuned to whatever spirits inhabit the old mansion. As time goes by, it becomes obvious that it have gotten more than they have bargained for, where the ghostly presence of the house manifests itself into horrific and deadly ways. Quick little summary right there. Moving on here, we have some technical specs. We have a runtime of approximately 112 minutes. Sound mix is a mono recording from West Trex Recording System. Color info, this is a black and white film, not a color film. Black and white film released in 1963. Aspect ratio is a wide angle at 2.35 by 1. And the film length is 3,065 meters. Moving on, we have the awards section here. For the awards, we have in 2022, this year, right now, we have the Online Film and Television Association, which added the film to the Film Hall of Fame. So be remembered there. So even if it was kind of a bomb back in the day, it's being remembered now as an excellent film. That's excellent. And in 2014, it was also added to the. It was also given the Best DVD and Blu-ray Special Edition release from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. And in 1964, it was actually nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Director, which would have been given to Robert Wise had he won.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
Just so you know, a lot of times when we do these older movies, they're in the National Film Registry for preservation. Although this film's widely acknowledged as a masterpiece in supernatural horror, as of 2021, it has not yet been included into the National Film Registry for preservation purposes. So I thought that was very interesting too.
Well, hopefully one day. This podcast here will move the needle enough. We'll get it on there.
Right.
Two people to the right.
Okay. Moving on here, I'm going to move to the cast now. We have Julia Harris playing the character of Eleanor Lance. Julia Harris was also in the films East of Eden in 1955, a film which we covered here on this very podcast.
James Dean movie.
Yeah, exactly. I Am the Camera, also in 1955. The Member of the Wedding in 1952. And Harper in 1966. Next up, we have Claire Bloom playing Theodora. Claire Bloom was also in the films The Spy Who Came in from the Cold in 1965, Limelight in 1952, and The Illustrated Man in 1969. Next up, we have Richard Johnson playing the character of Dr. John Markway. Richard Johnson was also in the films Deadlier Than the Male in 1967, a film of very questionable quality given by its cover. Some Girls Do in 1969. Dr. Markway was in mentioning films. and Take All of Me in 1976.
One of these days we're just gonna have a real talk where we just discuss the most absurd names of movies that they have been made.
Next up, we have Russ Tamblyn playing the character of Luke Sanderson. Russ was also in the film Seven Brides for Seven Brothers in 1954.
Good movie.
Tom Thumb in 1958.
That's a good movie
and
too.
The War of the Gargantuas in 1966. Wow, that looks like a movie I should watch someday. And let's see here. Next up we have who we got here. We got Faye Compton plays Mrs. Sanderson. She was also in the film Othello in 1951. Don't have the other films on hand here for her. Next up, we have Rosalia Crutchley playing Mrs. Dudley. She was also in the film Four Weddings and a Funeral in 1994.
Huh.
Next up, we have Lewis Maxwell playing Grace Markway. She was in the film Thunderball in 1965. Then we have Valentine Dwell playing Mr. Dudley. Valentine was also in the film The City of the Dead in 1960. Then we have Diana Clark playing Carrie Fredericks. She was in the film Persuasion in 1960. Then we have Ronald Adam playing Eldridge Harper. Ronald Adam was also in the film Around the World in 80 Days in the original 1956 version. Next up, we have Pamela Buckley playing First Mrs. Kane, uncredited in the role, actually. She was also in the film The Wednesday Play in 1964. And we also have Amy Dalby playing Abigail Crane. She was in the Abby Dalby, who plays Abigail Crane, the H80 version, the old lady version. She was also in the film The Wicked Lady in 1945. Then and finally we have Howard Lang playing the original Hugh Crane, pictured at the very beginning of the film, and he was also in the London Line in 1971, and that is the cast of The Haunting. Let's see here. Okay. All right, got the cast, technical details, awards, and that's done there. Jimbo, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Kyle. Thanks for asking. So I think before I dive into some of the trivia, we'll go ahead and let Cristine talk for a bit, since she did request this episode, and I asked her to come on and do it with us. So, Cristine, can you give an oversight of the book compared to the movie? Maybe some differences from the book and the movie. Did they do something better in the movie than they did in the book? Usually the book's always better, just from your perspective.
In my opinion, the book was better than the movie. I don't know if they did anything better in the movie than they did in the book. The book took place. Well, the movie I think only took place over 3 nights.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. The book took place over a week. And the book had a lot more happen outside than did inside. Like the movie, they did everything inside. It was all interior. And I think they did that on purpose because they wanted it to be much more claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I'm saying that right. Yeah. And in the book, there's a lot more happened outside than did inside. A lot of the paranormal stuff took place like around this. There was this really nice babbling brook, and they really wanted, like Eleanor, the main character, she really wanted to do this picnic, her and Theodora, and a lot of the psychological stuff took place outside too. Like she kept hearing these voices and stuff, and she kept thinking that it was Theodora and Luke talking to her, and she would get lost in her head, but it wasn't them. It was Hill House like messing with her.
Yeah.
And and the book delves a lot more into the whole psychological aspect of the house. Just it was almost like the house seducing her into her madness.
Now I have a question. In the book, I know in the movie that we just watched that she's trying to escape and she wants to go somewhere, that she just, one day I'll live here with this gated fence and all this. In the book, is she driven to Hill House, like urged to keep going to Hill House? Is she invited by the doctor? How does she come around with that in the book?
Yeah, it's the same in the book as it is in the movie. In the book, the doctor is much older, and he's not like in the movie. He's this dashing guy that isn't forthright with the fact that he's married.
Right.
In the book, he's this older psychiatrist. I don't know, parapsychologist, I guess is what he is, and he wants to do this experiment in a haunted house. And he writes letters to a whole bunch of people that have had psychic experiences. And the only 2 that respond, just like in the book, are Eleanor and Theodora. And so, same as in the movie, Eleanor has had this experience with stones being thrown at the house, and so she sees this has a vacation, a chance to get away. Like the whole thing with her is nothing has ever happened to her. She spent her whole life just taking care of her elderly mother. And her sister has really had a life and she hasn't. Oh, and another thing in the book is Hugh Crane in the book, or in the movie, Hugh Crane only had one daughter, Abigail. In the book, he has two daughters. So it's kind of interesting because in the book, Hugh Crane had two daughters. Eleanor has a sister. So it's kind of like a parallel with the book and the movie, two daughters. And so Eleanor sees this as a chance for her for her whole life. She's waiting for something to happen to her. So she sees this as a chance for something to happen to her, a chance to get away. And so she's drawn to Hill House. She really wants to go there. And there's the same thing with her sister not wanting her to take the car, but the car is half hers. So she sneaks out like she does in the movie. And she has this little fantasy built up about, just getting away in the two stone lions. That's the same thing. So they are pretty faithful about following the book to certain points, but there are many more characters in the book. And
is the guardsman and the maid or the groundsman and the maid in the book too? The Dudleys?
Oh yeah, that the Dudleys are there, and she's very much the same in the movie as she is in the book. Very precise about when she sets out, breakfast and lunch and dinner, and she refuses to stay after dark. And her husband is the very same curmudgeonly way. And
I thought he was funny in the movie. I kind of liked him. I'm trying. Yeah. I wish I would have watched.
As soon as he's introduced, I noticed that a lot. Like as soon as you see him, everything kind of gets diffused and it's a lot more fun and active. Like, oh, don't worry about this. It's haunted. Whatever. And
because she pulls up, she says, she pulls up, she says, "Is there anybody in there?" He's like, "Nobody that you would want to see." But
she's the first to arrive.
Right. I wish I would have went back. I wish I would have went back and watched The Haunting of Hill House before or after this movie just to see. You know what I mean?
Compare and contrast
between that and the book, because there's a lot more characters in The Haunting of Hill House, if I remember correctly. You know what I mean?
In the book.
Well, I mean, The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix show. There's a lot more characters in that too.
It's the Netflix show. It's a big family,
right?
That live in the house. Yeah, and it's actually. I
think there is
a happy kind of ending.
I think there is a Theo in that, if I remember. I think they use some of the same names, if I remember.
They might have.
I wish I would have read the book, watched this. There's a remake in there somewhere in like 1994, I think. You know what I mean? And then The Haunting of Hill House, just to see how The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix series, matched up with the book. But I know there's some differences there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I watched the Netflix series. It was very different, and it was a happy ending. It was nothing. It was nothing like the book. Nothing like the movie.
Right.
It seems like at the very least, like for this original release, any concessions made were in like the value of like time and budgetary
time, yes,
natural lights, or doing like natural lighting outside, something like that. So it's like, okay, let's confine this strictly to the mansion. That's where like the heart of the film has to be anyways. You have to have a mansion.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to have the outdoors for these scenes. So
right.
I think like this film, probably more than all the other adaptations, probably restricted as like closely as they possibly could, and I think
it really did.
Yeah, so that's
all the key elements that they needed were there. The main haunting, in the house were there. I think they made it as true as they could to the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like the main scares that needed to be there were there.
Now, I think it's in here in the notes somewhere. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But that they said that, here it is right here. Theo was a lesbian. I don't know if it's like that in the book. So I'm going to read you what some of the original script said here, and then we'll talk about if it was in the book or not. So the script originally contained a scene early in the film which Theodora is shown in her apartment in the city. It is clear from the context that she has just broken off with her female lover. I hate you is written on the mirror in lipstick. Theodora is yelling curses at her out the window and more. However, Wise decided to cut the scene, believing it to be too explicit for a film that worked hard to make things implicit. There's that, and then there's also, according to Julie Harris, film censors demanded that Theo never be shown to touch Eleanor in order to keep the lesbianism less obvious. Nevertheless, they touched several times, including when Theo is sitting on her bed. The theme is reinforced when Eleanor calls Theo a mistake of nature in the film. So I didn't know if that was tied into the book or if that's something that they took liberties on in the script.
No, it was just implied in the book.
In the book?
Yeah, it was just implied. She in the book, it just says that she had a fight with her roommate, and things were said, and she left. So it's just implied. There's nothing overt.
Was there any affection towards Theo and Eleanor in the book?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure before we dive down a whole nother rabbit hole that we set some things straight. So
yeah,
I am shocked that actually that was like in the original script and they filmed a scene of presumably because like I didn't want to mention it because I feel like it'd be cliche for me to say it for some reason. They're like I got like lesbian vibes from but I didn't realize that was explicit in the film to some degree. That's pretty
right.
Fun.
I mean,
yeah. Same time that I feel it's almost like a taboo for taboo shake. It just adds a risque value to the film and like could have been like a marketing move at some point. It doesn't feel like it in any way is saying anything about lesbianism or whatever indecency for the time or something like that. Right. However they want to define it in those kind of words, but
which is surprising because it was 1959, so I think it was even illegal back then to.
Well, this was just
to be gay.
4 years later, you know what I mean? So it's not like they had a lot of time in between.
No.
Yeah, so I guess like it feels like it was something like it would have been like immediately taboo just in that sense. It would have made the film provocative in some way, but cutting it out altogether, and I don't think anyone else noticed when you cut it out. No one actually got that vibe, so they just stuck with that instead. But I guess it's like too provocative to even acknowledge that the lesbian woman exists in the first place, or is now no one could care less.
Right. So
very subtle, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
And like I didn't really get that from the book.
I did like Luke when he goes into the library. He's like, I could make a fortune selling all these books. I thought that is hilarious because that's the first thing I would do. My daughter loves books. I mean, if we go to the bookstore, she comes out with like a sack. And I'm like, did you read all the ones before? And she's like, no. I mean, I probably have, I don't know, 1,500 books just in the room I'm in, plus what's in her room. And I'm like, why don't you stop buying and read some of the ones that you have before you go buy more? You know what I mean? I said,
next thing you know, you'll be telling me to watch the movies I buy or
exactly,
play
Kyle. It's the same.
Like no, the whole point is collecting them, and then one day hoping I retire and have the time to watch all these things.
Well, like me, I have pretty much the whole Clive Cussler hardbacks that I found at Goodwill. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pick an author and I'm just going to start reading. And they had them all in hardback. I found one that was autographed in there. So I got them, and I'm almost through one, but there's like 80 of them over here. So it's going to take me the rest of my life probably, or afterlife, to get those read.
There you go.
So I did like Luke. I thought Luke brought a little comedic, because he's the one that's about ready to inherit the house. And I thought in the book and the movie, the lady that owns the house, she says he needs to go with you. You know what I mean? Is that in the book too, where she forces him to go? If you're going, you're taking him with you to see. Yeah,
in the book, he is kind of the rakish figure, just like in the movie. In the book, the house was inherited by the I'm blanking here. The
estate, or that a word you want to use? Or the estate?
No.
Oh.
The one daughter who died, it was her nurse, or the village girl that took care of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gosh, see if I can
it was inherited by her. And in the book, Hugh Crane had two daughters. One got married.
Right.
and one stayed in the house. And the one that stayed in the house, it was the local village girl who took care of her. And so she fought to keep the house because she said that the sister that stayed left it to her. And yeah. And so she had a distant aunt or something after she committed suicide, just like in the movie.
Was she the one that hung herself?
At the spiral staircase?
Yes. Yeah. Just like in the book. Yeah. And she kept saying that, she kept thinking that the other sister, because the other sister fought her to try and get the house back till she hung herself. And she kept saying that the other sister was trying to break in, but the other sister maintained that, no, I never tried to break into the house. So it was the house was messing with her. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, the house wanted her. So it's, the thing about the house drove people insane, which it ended up doing to Eleanor.
Is there anything in the book that actually kind of like goes on to elaborate to any degree at all why the house overall is haunted? Because I never really got a thorough explanation of the film itself. It's just like, it's haunted because it's haunted. Or it's haunted because it was made in Massachusetts, which I guess is reason enough. But I didn't know if there's any more excuse than that. It's just why it's
it was just a bad house.
A bad house.
The house itself was bad. I mean, it says at the beginning of the book that whatever walks there walks alone.
Yeah,
right.
I do like that absence of excuse. It adds to the mystery, I guess. Like, there's nothing at all about why it's haunted. It just is.
But Kyle, if you were paying attention in the movie, as I am looking at this note, there is actually a tree at the house that kills every 90 years. If you were paying attention, so
now in the book it's every 80 years,
right?
Which I thought was interesting. The book, the house is 80 years old, and the movie it says 90 years. 90. So I don't know why the discrepancy there. Yeah.
Right. Well. The date of Eleanor's death is October 21st, 1963, as confirmed by the book from the library that Luke reads aloud. Markway points out that her car crashed against the same tree as the first Mrs. Crane did 90 years before. Eleanor's spirit says at the end of the movie, the house has stood for 90 years and might stand for 90 more, possibly suggesting her own death was an appeasement sacrifice that the house expects every 90 years. So if you remember the beginning of the movie, the lady that dies in the carriage, accident. Then you have what was the one that was banging on the wall, trying to get the nurse's thing. She died in her bed or whatever. You had because she was out there making out with the guy on the veranda or whatever.
As you do, yeah.
And then you have the
village girl,
the little girl, yeah, the one that hung herself, and then you have the girl that just laid in bed and grew old, and I can see Kyle doing that. I'm not getting up, but I thought that was really well done, though. The camera work and the age progression on the little girl as she laid there and got older and older and older, especially for 1963, very well done.
That age progression.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and start reading through some of this trivia so we can move along. And then if you want to stop and talk about anything that I came across, we can discuss it even further from the book to the movie. The names on the blackboard in Dr. Markway's office are all friends or family of the writer Nelson Gidding. Albert Trepuk was his stepfather. Charles Stern, Ruth Murray, Rufus Mathewson, and Paul Kirshner were friends. And Joshua Walden was his then 14-year-old son. So he threw a little bit of name recognition there from his own family and friends, which I thought was pretty cool.
Nice shout out.
Yeah. The director, Robert Wise, read a review of Shirley Jackson's novel, The Haunting of Hill House, in Time magazine and decided to get the rights to the novel. He later met the writer herself to talk about ideas for the film. He asked her if she had thought of other titles for the novel because the title would not work for the film. She told him that the only other title she had considered was simply The Haunting. So Wise decided to use it for his film. So the The Haunting movie name was actually from the writer of the book. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is.
Robert Wise had been on a contract with MGM and owed them one more film, so he brought The Haunting to them. They would only give him $1 million to shoot this film, and Wise insisted that he needed a bigger budget. In the end, he brought the project over to MGM in London, where they were willing to give him $1.05 million, among other cost savings and tax breaks. So he accepted and decided to do the film over in England. So that might be some of that discrepancy in the budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's probably where the Wikipedia actually got it too. So that probably, I would say the 1.05 is probably a lot more accurate than the 1.4 million it says on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This says Claire Bloom was intrigued to play the role of a woman who was attracted to another woman. She said she got along with everyone on the set except for Julie Harris, who tried everything to avoid her and not talk to her. At the end of the shoot, Harris went over to Bloom's house with a present and explained that the reason she had kept to herself was to stay in character, which it worked. Because Harris's role in the film was that of an outsider that none of the others understood or will listen to. Bloom was happy to hear the real reason behind Harris's behavior, since Bloom stated that she really liked Harris and could not understand what she herself had done wrong to be treated like that by one of her co-stars. So I think sometimes, though, actors and actresses they get in character and they don't ever break character till they leave the set. The one that comes to mind right off the bat is Jim Carrey when he portrayed Andy Kaufman in The Man in the Moon. I heard he was just really terrible the whole time he was filming that. You know what I mean? As far as
that documentary about it's amazing.
Yes, that was a great documentary if you ever see it. Russ Tamblyn was not very interested in playing the role of Luke Sanderson until MGM threatened him to resign his contract. Years later, he confirmed that Sanderson was his best role by far for years, probably because, hey, I almost got fired. Oh, man.
Excellent.
This is probably another budgetary reason. The exterior of Hill House in the film was not a set, but an actual house. Eddington Park Hotel in Warwickshire, England. Although all the interiors were carefully designed sets on sound stages, while shooting exterior night scenes on location at the real house, Russ Tamblyn has shared a story of having chosen to take a stroll through a cemetery at the rear of the property and having had an experience nearly as terrifying as the film itself. You can hear his story on the commentary track included on the DVD of the film. So I might have to go find the DVD. I mean, I got like one of them little disc replays or something over here where I can go try to find it on DVD and pull that up. But that'd be pretty cool to hear what is.
I'll check YouTube, see if I can find that somewhere. If I can find that, I'll post it in the Facebook group.
I'm sure you will. Millennial.
I do post on the Facebook group.
Why don't you make it your first TikTok, Kyle?
Don't have a link for it.
Director Martin Scorsese, you know who that is, Kyle?
I've heard of him once or twice.
Yeah. Well, he named this his favorite
one movie.
He named his favorite horror film.
He sure did.
His favorite horror film. That's awesome. Wow. Yep. Okay. Interesting choice. Martin Scorsese. Oh.
This is what we were talking about earlier with Cristine, that Nelson Giddings' initial concept for the script was that Eleanor had experienced a nervous breakdown, had been hospitalized, and that the house was the hospital. No, this is what we were talking about, that she was actually experiencing a nervous breakdown on the set. But originally it was he brought the concept to the book lady and said, the writer of the book, and said, hey, let's have her have a nervous breakdown and hospitalized, and that the house was going to be the hospital and the other character were going to be the staff and patients. And the booms and knockings were the result of shock treatments. The entire story would have been inside the head of a mentally ill woman. However, upon discussing this with the author, Shirley Jackson, who simply regarded it as a haunted house story, he decided to backpedal on the idea, but still emphasized Eleanor's crumbling sanity in his final script. So how would you have thought about that version of the film?
No. I don't think so.
I think it would have been fine as a film on its own, but just don't tie it into the Haunting book.
Yeah.
You know, totally different.
Yeah, totally different.
It would almost be like a Twilight Zone episode, I think.
Could be.
That was kind of the overall vibe I got of this whole film, actually. I felt like it was almost like an extended Twilight Zone episode in many ways. And if they went that direction you just mentioned, I would have agreed with you even more. Then it was definitely a Twilight Zone episode at that point. But I think that'd be an interesting film, but it's not The Haunting at that point. And I think I agree with Christine. It's like, that's a different movie.
Robert Wise shot the film in black and white because he loved the depth and rich atmospheric quality of black and white film for the genre of this film, and felt it would be perfect to enhance the moody psychological quality of the story. It didn't hurt that the studio contract specified that the film must be shot in black and white too, so it really didn't have a choice.
There's something you have to sell the decision regardless if it was yours or not.
You know, there's just, I don't know how you guys feel, but there's just something about a good black and white movie, man, that I just love. I mean, 12 Angry Men, just the Universal Monsters. There's just something about when a movie's shot in black and white that I think I like it better than the colored versions of them.
I think it goes back to like kind of like that less is more approach, that having that lack of color or detail allows you to kind of fill in the gaps of your own mind and focus on what is like there most. If you see the man's, you can see the faces, you can see the darkness, but you don't have to get overwhelmed by all these details that are non-essential to the overall story. That you can just focus on what is the purest thing there, and that makes it all the richer for it. And so it's a lesser more approach for me. Why I like black and white films or
Well, I really love the Technicolor films, as we discussed in our last
Robin Hood podcast.
Robin Hood.
Yeah,
I just think when they like Wizard of Oz and stuff like that's filmed in Technicolor, I just think the colors are so vibrant. It
gives like a jovial liveliness to it that I really appreciate. And actually, I think that would be a direct disservice for a horror film. Actually,
right.
The Technicolor would be so lively. I'd be like, I can't be mad. It looks so colorful.
What about you, Cristine?
What's that?
Do you prefer black and white or colored films?
I like color, but I think for some things like The Haunting, the black and white really worked. There's also something that I read in here that I can throw in if you don't mind.
Whatever you want to throw in, it's your show.
Okay, well, in reading this, I thought this was pretty interesting. He was talking about Weiss. He used a 30 millimeter, let's see if I'm pronouncing this right, anamorphic wide angle lens Panavision camera that was not technically ready for use and caused distortions.
Yeah, that's probably why it looks kind of creepy on the sides and everything.
It was only given
quality.
Yeah, it said it was only given to Weiss on condition that he sign a memorandum in which he acknowledged that the lens was imperfect. So, he used that specifically, I guess, to make it look more creepy.
Oh yeah, and it worked.
It worked big time.
Loved it.
And I guess too on the interior sets, they deliberately put ceilings on them to make it seem more claustrophobic.
Yeah, because you could tell like it was always like closing in. Now we'll get back to the notes here in a second. Now, what did you think about the scene in the movie where they all come into that room and there's the statue with the two lovers and the handmaid and the dog? You know what I mean?
Oh, the big white statue. Yeah, that was pretty creepy. That was also in the book.
Yeah,
and she dances around it at one point. Yeah. Just another weird thing that she kind of goes into herself, at one point.
Yeah, because I think it's Luke that says, "Well, why don't you dance for us or something, or dance for him?" And then she's like, "Oh no, I'm not." And then the next thing you know, that door opens up with the wind or whatever, and then she starts falling around. Which later on in the film, she does it again when she goes back into. She does
it again, yeah,
right,
yeah.
So I thought
at
that was pretty cool throwback.
Yeah, at one point in the book, I think it's in the book. I think it's like the last night she starts running around the house by herself and everybody's looking for her and she's like hiding from everybody. It's when she's really kind of losing it. And she runs into the room with that big stone statue thing and that's when she starts dancing with it.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy.
Yeah,
it's very creepy.
I don't know if intentional it was or not, but I think it gives like in the movie itself, like it doesn't really like not for the audience, but for Eleanor as a character, it gives her the opportunity to put like a personification on the haunting she's experienced to. She can always look at those statues and see like the ghostly presence in her own mind in that way as she continues to kind of like deteriorate her mind from these hauntings. So it's really kind of cool to give her something to basically act off of doing that dancing scene and all that kind of stuff. So
and if you watch that scene when they all leave and it zooms in on the I think it's one of the lovers and the handmaid standing behind her. I mean, they you can see the people walking behind the door leaving, and they's in there, and I for sure thought one of those heads were going to move or blink or something because I was so intense watching it and the music. I'm like, this is either going to be a jump scare or something really cool. And no, it just went on. Yeah. And I was like, man, what a missed opportunity. You had
like that early 2000s vibe. They would have totally done it. Totally done it.
Pull the trigger.
It's like what's in your head, because you could imagine it.
Right. I thought it was well done.
The whole thing was well done.
Yeah, for some of the scenes in which characters are tormented by the loud, ghostly sounds coming from the house, Robert Wise had the sounds on playback so that the actors could react to them authentically. It was a technique that they found very useful and effective for creating just the right mood of terror. So I have a question. When Eleanor first hears, what do you think that was banging down the wall? I think she says the reference something about tossing a cannonball at the wall or something like that. I was trying to think of what that sounded like, and I couldn't really come up with anything.
The loud banging.
Yeah, well, not the banging. Well, yes, like it's almost like a drum beating, but it was different. You know what I mean? It was like,
It just sounded like thunder or something almost. It was so loud.
Right.
About down the hall, right? Down the hallway.
Right. And then also when I thought what else was really well done, and I think it's when it's either when she's by herself or when she runs to Theo's room and they're on the bed and that noise and they're watching and they're watching it go, it just shows the wall, right? And it goes down and then it like goes up the wall, like across the top of the doorway and then back down, you know what I mean? And then it stops, and that's when they scream or whatever, and the door opens and they said, "Oh, well, we were chasing this dog that ran outside."
Oh, right.
And,
that the house lures the men outside.
So that
divide and conquer.
So it could torment the girls. So I thought that was very interesting too.
That happened in the book too.
Because they thought that it was the guys that were making the noises and trying to scare them, you know what I mean? But when they find out, no, we were chasing this dog or whatever outside in the garden, you know what I mean? Then they kind of look at each other like, another creepy factor, I ain't gonna lie, is when she's having that, hearing those noises, and she's like, "Theo, hold my hand," and she's like, "Who's squeezing my hand so hard?"
Yes,
I was like, and then she wakes up screaming or whatever, and she's like over in a chair now, covered up, and she's like not even over in the bed where she was, and she's like, "Who was holding my hand?" And I was like, I got something at the end of the notes that kind of explains what it was or who they think it was. So we'll get to that here in a minute. But
kind of experience I thought it was, anyways.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
It's interesting enough. Like I think in this one, like it was right to focus on Eleanor as a character, or her losing her mind, especially. But like, man, this movie was done so well. I almost wish the other characters got more time to shine, or they had like. It almost feels like if granted they already did a Netflix series about this apparently, which I haven't watched yet. But
you haven't watched it?
No, I haven't watched the Netflix show at all. I rarely go on Netflix nowadays. Just personal reasons.
It's not the same thing, Kyle. They may have the same
different,
but it's totally different.
Yeah, but I was going to go on for the say like I almost feel like this film, like you can almost make a whole other separate series or films from the other characters' perspectives on each scene and how they're individually being haunted by the house in their own specific way. Because there's a lot of opportunities, I think, for that in this own film. They actually show like so many characters have different experiences, but I think it was right to focus on Eleanor for this film. Because it does draw you into her character better than anyone else, obviously. So, but still, like six there, half dozen another. That's another film I wish I could have seen. That would have been a very different film, but also entertaining, I think.
Well, let me write this down real quick so I don't forget.
You want to come around something later?
No, I'm going to bring this up at the end. Just because I don't want to. It'll take a while to discuss this.
All right.
Just
we'll patter for time.
That's not there you go. I got it down now, so I'll have to come back to that. That's a good point that I want to make. According to Robert Wise, the spiral staircase provided some unique challenges. It was scary when you were up there on that thing and it was rocking around. The one shot we did on it that fascinates people the most is when the camera is at the bottom and goes up. We designed the banister on the of the stairway to be so wide and thick that it would fit a small rig with wheels on it. A light little dolly that would simply hold a small handheld camera. We had our camera on that, and we had a control wire underneath all the way down. We simply took the camera up to the top of the rig, started it, and rolled it down, and then we reversed the film, and it was all done on that balustrade. So another interesting camera technique that they used, because that was creepy too, man. I was a little unnerving because I was like, she's never going to make it to the top of the staircase. You know what I mean? I was like,
oh, yeah, that thing is just a death trap in itself. I love it.
She just kept walking and walking. I'm like, man, just get to the top already. With the majority of the film's action taking place inside the house, Robert Wise took the time to build suspense slowly and deliberately by paying careful attention to each scene. By keeping the small cast together in the various rooms of the house, Wise emphasized the claustrophobic nature of the story, which helped to increase the dramatic tension, which I think we've already touched on a little bit. Moving on. According to Russ Tamblyn, Robert Wise approached a society that kept track of British haunted houses, and they gave him a list of such places. So that's pretty cool. This is including in the book, the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, which was edited by Steven Schneider, which I have a copy of. Most of the film was shot through lenses to add curvature to the walls, making the house even more strange, which Cristine said it was because it was a broken Panavision camera, which is pretty cool, or not totally refurbished. It's like, if you go to buy a refurbished iPad and didn't get the extended warranty and you bring it home and it's not working the next day, something like that.
It's kind of like a task failed successfully kind of thing. Like it's broken in just the perfect way for this movie.
Okay, Cristine, you'll find this interesting. Russ Tamblyn, who played who? Kyle?
Luke.
Russ Tamblyn.
Luke, right.
Can you play Luke?
I think he played Luke, right?
Yeah, I believe so,
Yeah,
yes.
Luke.
Okay.
Yes, he played Luke.
Did you know that in the 2018 TV series The Haunting of Hill House, he has an uncredited cameo as Nils' psychiatrist?
Oh, interesting.
So I'm gonna have to watch that Netflix series again to see if I can pick that up. So I think that's pretty cool.
Awesome, little small world moment.
Yeah. Here's something interesting too. Dr. Markaway says early on, makes you expect to find a disembodied hand in the sauce. Eleanor later holds a disembodied hand while sleeping, then cries, "Whose hand was I holding?" Still, even later on, Dr. Markaway forcibly leads Eleanor by the hand down the spiral staircase. So that's great storytelling right there, or attention to detail. This one really struck me. Some scenes in this movie was an inspiration for the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland and Walt Disney World.
Made for a ride, you
Interesting.
said?
Do what?
Considered for a ride or a attraction, you said? What did you say?
The inspiration for the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland and Disney World.
Oh,
You ever been to either one of those?
I have. Oh, no, Disneyland, not Disney World.
I've been to the one in Florida. But Kyle, it's
I think the one in
basically
California.
a ride you get in, and it goes through a haunted house and turns and everything, and there's different like architect in there and all that. And then at the end it turns and there's a ghost sitting in between you and the person you're riding with in the car. At least
Yeah.
I went to.
That sounds awesome. The only experience I have with the Haunted Mansion is I've seen the Eddie Murphy movie.
Okay, stop. Doesn't count.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out, I think, just next year, actually. Sorry.
See what I have to deal with Cristine on a weekly basis. This
Yeah,
guy that all he knows is like if I say the Nutty Professor, he's like, "Oh, the Eddie Murphy," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"No,
Eddie Murphy."
the way back in the day." Lois Maxwell plays the doctor's wife, Grace Markaway, which I thought she did a really good job too, because she came in there and she's like, "I don't think anything's wrong," and then she's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm his wife," and she's like, then Eleanor's mind starts going in. Well, he didn't tell me he was married, It
Right.
just goes on, and there's a phrase in there where I think it's Theo comes out to her and says, "Hey, is old A or whatever, Tristan's waiting for you." So that whole Spanish love story there, that was a movie too. But anyway, she began her at the same time of her career when she was beginning this. She was also beginning her stint playing James Bond's Miss Moneypenny. So that's cool too. I didn't know she was in the James Bond movies.
Yeah.
The veranda where old Miss Abby's companion and her romantic tryst with the farmhand is the same spot where Dr. Markaway and Eleanor, who has a secret crush on him, have an embrace when he prevents her from falling over the ledge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you pay attention, which will the last point I'm going to make, it'll have a lot of that in there. The stuff that you saw at the beginning of the movie was very important because it's actually referenced later on in the film. And I didn't know that till I read this, so that's why I was going back and watching it. The three disembodied voices that haunt the house can be identified as Hugh Crane, the deceitful companion, and young Abigail Crane. The infamous bending door scene was achieved by constructing a prop door composed of laminated wood. Then while filming, the bending effect was caused by having a strong stagehand push on the door with a timber. So that was pretty good special effects. I'm not going to lie.
Effective use of a small budget, really. This is kind of like guerrilla filmmaking back in the day in so many ways.
So the events at the house during Dr. Markaway's visit are best explained as being caused by spirits of persons shown living in the prologue or the house itself. So this is my last official note before we go into discussion. The banging noises at night, accompanied by a witch's cackling and door being bent, is Abigail's nurse companion mocking her employer, rapping to come to her aid. The muffled sermon and child crying that Eleanor hears one night are Hugh Crane and his young daughter Abigail. Abigail's spirit squeezes Eleanor's hand as she endures more enlightenment from her cruel father. The written spirit message, "Help Eleanor come home," is the house's command to other members of Dr. Markaway's party to help Eleanor become another one of its spirits. The house then lures Eleanor into climbing the spiral staircase and leaning over its top at the very spot where Abigail's nurse companion hanged herself. which nearly causes Eleanor to fall to her death, but she was rescued by Dr. Markaway after seeing Mrs. Markaway's startling reappearance from the tower. She comes to that trap door, and everybody thought, I thought she was dead, like a ghost. I was like, what is going on here?
Oh, yeah.
The house tries again once more using Mrs. Markaway to distract Eleanor, which she does when she dies after crashing her car into that tree. Eleanor's dialogue at the end confirms that she has become another one of the House of Spirits. So I think it's pretty cool how they tied all the prologue, the deaths and the cranes, and actually use those later on in the movie. So here's my question to you guys at the end. Do you think Eleanor was having a mental breakdown or a nervous breakdown and imagining all of this, or do you think it was really the haunted house drawing her to it, or do you think it was both?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the mindset of both, and I think this is part of what the film does so well, in my opinion, is that Eleanor is incredibly vulnerable in this moment of the film and is desperately seeking some kind of escape from her kind of not really like pathetic, I would think, but like kind of a sad or a life that she views with disappointment and disdain, that she's desperately trying to find anything at all, like stay at this mansion, get your name out there, meet new people, find a way of like making herself into the life she wants to live. And so she's incredibly vulnerable at this point, and the house just does to do so little just to push her right over the edge. So I think it's definitely both, where like she is at her worst, she's at her most vulnerable, and the haunting is taking immediate advantage of that. Is like a predator looking at injured prey and just seizing the moment to find this person who's incredibly easy to manipulate. So like, in many sense, I don't think she's mentally ill at the very beginning or something like that, but she's very clearly like, susceptible to being manipulated by the house, and the house takes great advantage of that. So I think, like, I don't think Eleanor was necessarily the crazy one. I think the house made her that way, and because it saw the opportunity and took it, in its own malevolent style, or the tree, as you kind of said at the beginning there. Yeah, Cristine, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Eleanor is incredibly vulnerable because she just lost her mother, who she was a caretaker for 10 years. And I think the house just preyed upon her and wanted her, and just slowly, because in the book they're there for a week, and just slowly worked its way into her mind and just seduced her. In the book, it's almost like it seduced her, and she just fell in love with the house, because in the book she is slowly taken in by the house, and she has a little free will. Like there's parts in the book where she almost kind of says to herself, run. Like when she first gets there, she has a moment where she's talking with the caretaker and says, no, I'm supposed to be here. Let me in. And then she says to herself, no, turn around, run. But then she keeps going. So she almost has a little bit of free will, but the house just slowly overtakes her mind. So I don't think she's mentally ill as much as she's just so terribly vulnerable. And the people, the other people there, like Theodore and the doctor, they can't quite see how vulnerable she is. And by the time they do, and they try and get her to leave, because in the movie, they have Luke that's going to take her and going to drive her. But in the book, they make her get in the car by herself, and they force her to leave by herself. And as she's driving out, she's like, oh, they want me to leave, but I don't want to leave. I belong here. I'm supposed to be here. And she points her car towards the tree. And the very last second, she says to herself, wait a minute, what am I doing? I don't want to hit the tree, but it's too late. So at the very end, she kind of has a little bit of that free will, but
yeah,
the house is just too strong.
My question is another question that I was going to bring up earlier when Kyle was talking. Do you think that the house picked on Eleanor because she was the weak-minded one?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Do you think that the house had Eleanor picked, Dr. Markley picked Eleanor because they already knew that's who needed to? Or do you think that was just random luck?
I think it was random luck because Dr. Markway, he picked that house because it was a haunted house. So he had it picked out and he sent letters. I think he had in the book, he had a list of like 20 people that had paranormal experiences, but only Theodore and Eleanor were the only ones that responded.
What is it that Eleanor was supposed to have
happened to her?
The gift that he would want her there. I'm trying to remember in the movie. I know Theo was a parapsychologist or something like that, right? She could read the minds or whatever.
Oh, the cards, yeah. Eleanor had an experience when she was when her and her sister were children. They had stones come down on their house for a period of a week or two. So it was almost, I think, poltergeist activity.
Yeah, that's what they actually say in the Wikipedia page specific too. And yeah, it was like the only recorded case that the government admits to. I think they also said it's
something like that. Yeah,
poltergeist, and that's why Markway has the interest in her too.
Mm-hmm. But then she denied it. Like she pushed it down so far that she'd actually kind of forgotten about it. And when she came to the house, she really, I don't think even really knew why he had invited her because she kept thinking that it was a vacation. And I think I mentioned earlier that she's like, well, this is the only thing that's ever happened to me. That was all she kept thinking was, this is the only thing that's ever happened to me. And he had said to her, well, you had, stones come down at your house. And she's like, well, no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, well, no, mother said that was the neighbors because, they didn't like us or she said we were too good for them or something like that. So she had just kind of blocked that whole experience out.
Do you think that the doctor had a thing for Eleanor?
No, in the book, he was much older and he was more of like a grandfatherly.
Right, but I'm talking
figure.
About in the movie. Do you think do you think there was a connection there, or do you think he was just genuinely concerned for her?
He was genuinely concerned for her. And I think he regretted inviting her there. And that's why they wanted her to leave, because they could tell that she was mentally unstable and that she was breaking down and needed to get out of there.
Yeah, I would say going back to the last question that you just had too. I don't think Markway selected Eleanor because he knew the house would target her as the weakest link. I think his answers are genuine and sincere, and why he chose her because he thought he might be an interesting person to choose in the first place. But the house itself is a malevolent force that will always choose the weakest link in this chain of people, regardless. So if it's not Eleanor, it'll be the next person down the line who's the weakest to be succumbed to it, and that'll be the thing the house targets and will probably succeed at because it's horror that the house always wins. That cliche.
The house always wins. Yeah.
Would you have liked to seen a sequel where Eleanor is actually one of the spirits now?
I think it stands alone.
I think you could do it, but I don't necessarily know if it would be good or not. And I agree. I think if you had Eleanor as a spirit, at that point you have to answer more questions, and as soon as you answer more questions, things get less terrifying because it's never as good as what the viewer has in their imagination. If I said it was built on an old Indian graveyard, then it's back to the poltergeist again, and it's okay. It's immediately not as horrifying as just.
Yeah, I don't think it needs it.
Mansion,
Right. So as we're wrapping up, Cristine, what are your overall thoughts on this movie, and do you think people should see it? And if you were going to rate it out of let's say a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put this movie?
Oh, I definitely recommend it, especially if you like a good classic horror film that really makes you think, because it's not blood and gore. If you're into slasher films and stuff like that, you're not going to like it. But if you like a good psychological thriller, I highly recommend it. I would give it a 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10? Kyle?
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's one of those things a really rewarding film to dig into. As soon as you dig deeper into it, there's a lot more rewarding answers to get from like the opening scene there that kind of sets up all the hauntings that go in later in the film, and Eleanor's mental breakdown to what all the characters' motives really are going forward. It's a really interesting film to just continue to investigate and get answers to, and a really cool little like chunk of good horror suspense. And so yeah, if I was giving it a rating, I would probably say like at the very least for me, it's a very very strong 7, if not an 8. I feel like I'm running between there, so I'm gonna say low 8. Like it's an 8 in my opinion for overall rating of this film, and I think it's excellent. It's certainly well worth watching if you're any kind of suspense or horror fan at all. Then like it's a film you kind of need to check out just to see the initial foundations of horror in so many ways, as this being such an early film, and really sets up for like how other films built upon it in so many ways, and suspense and psychological horror. So I really like it a lot. Jimbo, how do you feel about it overall?
Well, I kind of get like an Alfred Hitchcock vibe from it. It kind of takes me back to the movie Vertigo. How how some of the camera angles they would turn, or they would always focus on the cherubims. Like if they would leave a room, you'd see one of the cherubims, like almost on everyone, or a gargoyle. I think it's beautifully shot, and I think from the beginning of the film, as they're going through the prologue, it's got you hooked already. Now, when it got to the part where Eleanor was arguing with her, was it her aunt or whatever it's been, when she was wanting the car or whatever, her sister, whatever it was.
Sister.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That kind of took me out of me. They captured me right here, and then that kind of drew me back a little bit, you know what I mean? And then they got back, when they got back to the house and she pulls up and that gatekeeper's there. But I think that part was necessary to show you what was going on in Eleanor's head already, the struggles that she had went through. And then don't they even say, was her sister that said that you killed our mother, or somebody says you killed mother or whatever? Or
it was Theo's character was implying that she killed her mother.
Theo, was it Theo? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Theo picked on her an awful lot in the movie, at least. She says something where she goes storming out onto the veranda, you know what I mean? And she's like, Theo, you need to go check on her. And, she's like, oh, I was just having fun, or, you know what I mean? And so it's very interesting to see the different characters that were at the house, how they played out throughout the house. And like Luke, man, I mean, he's just like, yeah, whatever. He's just there for, I'm going to inherit this all day. I can make it a nice bed and breakfast.
Yeah, Luke's just excited to get a house.
He's like, oh, how much can I make on tours? And he's just all over the place. So I like Luke. I'd probably give it a 7.5, 8. Definitely well worth a watch. Has anybody watched the one from the 90s?
No,
1999. Apparently had who directed that film? Jen DuBont, starring Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Owen Wilson.
I think I have seen this.
I want to see that film, but
I think I have seen this movie, but it was unforgettable if I remember correctly.
It says here, yes, this version was heavily panned by critics and audiences.
Yeah.
Well, Cristine, we thank you for joining us on our show tonight. You're more than welcome to come back and cover any movie you want with us. You just have to find the time. Hope you had fun. If anybody would like to follow us on our Facebook group, it is the Tragedy of Cinema Podcast group on Facebook. We have a lot of fun on there. Just for the record, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I like to throw that out there every once in a while, because that goes back from the way beginnings of this podcast, where that's like the divide. It's a Christmas movie. It's not a Christmas movie. So we have a lot of fun.
It's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
So
I do like that movie though.
Yeah. If you want to write us an email, the tragedy of cinema at gmail.com. And the best thing you do is tell a friend, tell your family member, steal your kids' phone and download all our episodes on their phone. Or grandkids,
like a fruitcake. Just like, here, you have to have this.
So, well, thanks for coming on. And Kyle, I think that this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.